U.S. President Donald Trump forced out John Bolton as his national security advisor on Tuesday. The president says they had strong disagreements on several policy issues. Trump tweeted that he told Bolton Monday night his services were no longer needed at the White House. He later said that Bolton offered his resignation Tuesday morning. Trump added that he disagreed strongly with many of Bolton's suggestions, as did others in the administration. Bolton answered in a tweet of his own that he offered to resign Monday and that President Trump said, "Let's talk about it tomorrow." Bolton's ouster came as a surprise to many White House employees. Just an hour before Trump's tweet, the press office reported that Bolton would join Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin in a briefing. Bolton was always an unlikely choice to be Trump's third national security advisor. The official's ideas seemed to conflict with the president's America First position. Bolton has supported a strong military-centered position in foreign policy since the 1980s, when he served under President Ronald Reagan. He became known for his support for the Iraq War as the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations under George W. Bush. Bolton briefly considered becoming a presidential candidate in 2016, partly to argue against the isolationist position of then-candidate Trump. In the Trump administration, Bolton called for careful dealing with the growing relationship between the United States and North Korea. He planned a quiet campaign inside the administration and with U.S. allies to persuade Trump to keep U.S. forces in Syria. Most recently, Bolton reportedly opposed Trump's offer to meet for peace talks with leaders of Afghanistan's Taliban. On Monday, the administration announced it had canceled the meeting. I'm Brian Lynn.
North Korea launched 2 short-distance projectiles Tuesday, a few hours after offering to restart talks with the United States this month. It is the 10th set of weapons tests since May. That is when North Korea restarted missile tests after more than 1 year without one. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said the projectiles were launched from South Pyongan province in the country's western area and landed in the sea off of North Korea's eastern coast. American and South Korean officials said the projectiles traveled about 330 kilometers. The South Korean military called for the North to immediately stop actions that increase tensions on the Korean peninsula. U.S. officials said they knew about the activity and were working closely with allies. The test comes hours after North Korean Vice Foreign Minister Choi Sun-hee said that North Korea was willing to restart talks with the U.S. this month. We are willing to sit face-to-face with the U.S. around late September at a time and place that we can agree on, Choi said. Her statement was carried by the official North Korean Central News Agency. However, Che said that the U.S. must produce an acceptable calculation or risk the end of talks. North Korea has been seeking some compromise from the U.S. in easing economic sanctions. Reporters later asked U.S. President Donald Trump about the offer to meet for talks. He said, "I always say having meetings is a good thing, not a bad thing." Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un held their second set of talks in Hanoi, Vietnam in February, but did not reach a deal. Trump rejected Kim's demand for relief from some U.S. economic sanctions in return for moves to partly end North Korea's nuclear weapons program. The two leaders did meet for a short time in June at the demilitarized zone separating North and South Korea. However, working-level talks have not yet started. At their first talks in Singapore last year, Trump and Kim approved a statement calling for the complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. But since then, North Korea has not reduced its nuclear weapons program. And in a report last week, the United Nations said the North's development of nuclear warheads has not stopped. Kim warned in his New Year's speech that he may take a new path if the U.S. does not change its approach to the talks. The North has set a time limit of the year's end. After that time, it might restart nuclear and long-distance missile tests. Kim Dong-yeop is an expert with the Institute for Far Eastern Studies in Seoul. He said, the most recent launch may be the latest warning about a new path. He added, "It is intended to send a message to the U.S. that it can go further next year during the presidential race." I'm Jonathan Evans.